It's Lady Vols time here on Locked On Women's Basketball. Kellie Harper is here. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Well, hi, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday of the WNBA Finals Week. Happy Tuesday of the onrushing college basketball season. It is a beautiful time to be here in the women's basketball world. I'm your host, Howard Megdal, thanking you for making us your first listen every day. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We are with you 6 days a week, and you guys keep showing up for us. Over 100,000 of you listening in last month alone, and we are on track to break that record here in October. So delighted that you're with us. Of course, it is not me alone. It is our entire team covering women's basketball over at The Next, where we have over 100 reported pieces every single month. The great Gabriella Lewis is our SEC reporter. And so make sure you're following her and everything we're doing. You can subscribe $9 a month, $72 a year. thenexthoops.com. And a team that we have covered quite a bit and excited to cover, of course, moving forward, kind of under the radar, not a lot of historic significance, right, to the Tennessee Lady Vols, but it really is always a delight to cover Kellie Harper, who joins us, head coach. And Coach, when we think about that legacy, and I know you know it as a player, you know it as a coach here, how much is it helpful? How much is it something that you kind of have to say, we know it's part of what we're doing, but we also have to put it aside? How do you navigate that balance?
Well, I think for us, it's always going to be here. It's who we are. It's the makeup of this program. And I think it's important that we are always cognizant of what came before. And also I think it's relevant because it's the expectations of our program. Right. But we also talk about the relevant and the current and where we are now and who we are now. And obviously for us, we're really excited about back-to-back Sweet 16s. That's a big deal. I also understand in the big scheme of things where our program wants to be and where we feel like we need to be, but we're still working to get there.
It's so interesting to me. And, as a point of personal privilege, I look at what you've built here. I look at back-to-back Sweet 16s and I say, this is an undeniable accomplishment. And I also think, and this is my view, is that it is unfair to compare eras. That, before we even talk about, what Pat meant, what Pat is as a figure in this game and will always be as a figure in this game, it happened during a time where, you didn't just look at the SEC alone and the number of programs that had investment, the number of programs that were doing the minimum necessary in order to make women's basketball work were vastly smaller than you have now. I don't know if that's a thing that is easy to convey to your fan base, but is that something that you think there's a popular understanding of at this point?
I think people that are really in the trenches, I think they understand it's just different. I think the common fan, it's just basketball and it isn't different, right? I think there are a lot of things. I think you're right. The investment that more people have made for women's basketball. And I'll be honest with you, part of the reason they made that investment was because of Pat Summitt, was because of Tennessee. People were chasing Tennessee. People had to make the commitment at a greater level to be competitive. And people did. Women's basketball has grown in the last 30 years. It has really taken off. And because of that, there are better coaches, there are better players, more better players, more investment. The other thing that I think is interesting, back when I played in the 90s, if you turned on the television to watch women's basketball, there was probably a 75% chance you're going to watch Tennessee.
Right.
There weren't a lot of options to watch other schools play. And therefore, when you're growing up and you're watching, you're going to be the fan of the team you see, and the team you see is the University of Tennessee. Now you can watch everybody. Anybody and everybody is at your fingertips. So I do think that's been a change as well. And again, for the good of our game. There's no doubt.
It reminds me a lot of what we saw on the men's side right after the John Wooden era. And if you think of Pat as a Wooden parallel, once UCLA won 10 titles in 12 years, you didn't see that kind of uniformity going forward because of how the game grew. And we followed with David Thompson, and we followed with Magic and Bird, and you have a similar scenario thing playing out here. But I would be remiss if we spent all the time on the big picture, because this is an incredibly exciting team here in 23-24. We've got them. I'll give a preview. We've got your group preseason 11. That's where Missy Heidrich has you guys, obviously a national title contender. So the biggest reason to be, I think, as excited as I am to see your group is Rickea Jackson. And, just to give people a sense of what she was able to do last year, she became a threat from beyond the arc. She was ridiculously efficient in the paint and around the rim, and really even out to the mid-range. She put up 19.2 points per game, but she did it in a way that didn't use too many possessions. I just wonder, now that you've got her again, what is next for her? What are we going to see from her on day one when you guys take the floor that maybe we didn't even get to see last year?
Yeah, I think for her, I think she has a confidence and a comfort level with our system and what we want from her from day one. And I think that's going to translate well for her. We've worked really hard on ball handling skills to tighten those up a little bit, not just for this year, but for her future as well. I thought that was an area of growth for her. You're right. She was so efficient. And I think for us, continuing to find ways to move her around, to take advantage of mismatch opportunities, really, really puts her in position to be herself and to post up, to hit the mid-range, to step out behind the three. She's uber competitive. I mean, off the charts competitive. She wants to win at everything. And I think that's going to come through even more, especially when you see her day one, second year here. I think you'll see that.
It's really interesting. And that balance, I know, is something that you have to constantly be thinking about, because you make future pros at Tennessee. And she is obviously one of them. And her name is going to be called very early on. When she's in the draft. I look forward to seeing her in New York when that time comes. And she is 6'2". She is somebody who is capable of finishing at the rim, as well as, frankly, anyone I've seen in recent years. I mean, it's one of my favorite numbers. Shot charts are my drug of choice. And so the fact that she is at 77.8% at the rim last year, being able to combine that with making sure she's a threat from beyond the arc, that's part of thinking about her future. Is that right? Is that kind of the way those conversations went with you and her?
Yeah. So I think, when we're working with our players that have potential to be WNBA players, we want them to be pro ready as well as being good for our current team. And sometimes that's when you're working on a couple different things, right? I mean, so we've done some things with her to try to help her be pro ready as soon as she is done. I mean, we finish our games. We want her ready to go. That's important. That's kind of what we've been working on with several of our players. But then also, I think for her, that efficiency isn't available if her teammates can't be productive and give her space. Okay. And it's not effective if we don't have the versatility with her teammates as well. So if I can only play Rickea in the post because of the other players we have, it's not going to enhance what she does. So it all works together. And her teammates allow me to put her in position. I mean, we move her around. I mean, we'll bring her off a ball screen, post her up, let her cut into the high post. I mean, we'll move her around just about everywhere.
It's so much fun to watch your offense in action. So you are not a one-woman show, and we're going to be talking all about the teammates that help make this a powerhouse team here in segment 2. But first, let's talk a little bit about one of our sponsors today. And this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, there are always these times for people where your brain can be getting in its own way. You know what you should do, what's good for you, but not always easy to tell yourself to do it. That's where therapy comes in. Therapy can help you figure out what's holding you back so you can work for yourself instead of against yourself. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Here's how it works. You fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist. And then if you're not happy, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LOCKEDONNBA for 10% off your first month. So as we think about this team and who is navigating your backcourt, and I know the backcourt holds a special place in your heart given your playing background, but it's so interesting to me. So it's 2 parts, right? It's Juliet Spear, and we have to talk first about bringing Jewel in, why you saw her as a particularly good fit for this group. Of course, what Jewel did at Wake Forest is well known. What is it that she brings to the Lady Vols specifically?
Yeah, first off, Jewel has great character. She is awesome. We love her. Players love her. Professors love her. Administration loves her. She's just that kind of young woman. And I'm so excited she's part of our team and our culture. Obviously, she's talented on the court. And what we felt like we needed a perimeter scorer. And what the way that Jewel scores is really good for us, in my opinion, right now. She can score behind the 3-point line.
Mm-hmm.
She can do ball screens. She can shoot off the dribble, off the catch, pulls up, shoots a lot of jumpers. I think that was important, that we were going to have a punch on the perimeter, especially after losing a Jordan Horston, who, although their skill set was very different, Jordan's very productive for us. And we needed to have a player that had the capability to give us a big chunk of production on the perimeter.
And you have that in spades. You have that not only with Juliet Spear, but with Destinee Wells, who was just an absolute killer from beyond the arc for Belmont. I mean, listeners, if you don't watch Belmont on a regular basis, change that immediately. And so to see Destinee Wells come after hitting 45% of her threes last year, you had 3-point options last year, of course, but that's a different caliber, right? If you can get 45% from 3 from her, that's a game changer for the kind of spacing you can have, right?
Yes, absolutely. We had Tess Darby shot 42% for us last year on the wing, but right. To me, what Destinee brings, yes, she shoots a great percentage from the 3, but she is deadly off a ball screen. And not necessarily scoring, but she can, obviously. Mm-hmm. She can make great decisions coming off a ball screen, putting her, Rickea Jackson, in a 2-man game, putting her in on the weak side, coming off ball screens. She has such great savvy. She has such great understanding. So if she never shot a shot, she would help us. Mm-hmm. But she can score. She can absolutely score, and it's runners. It's get to the basket. She's small, but she's very savvy and clever on how to get shots off when she gets to the basket, and she can shoot the 3. And so we're really excited about what she brings also, because it is a huge punch for us. I mean, a huge punch, being able to, because you know, just when you think you figured out how you're going to guard that ball screen, she hits a 3. Mm-hmm. You know, I think she gives us a lot of options there. It's
really interesting to see. And again, you know, to go back to the point up top, like, to reach the Sweet 16 is significant in and of itself, but you did it with 9 games total from Tamari Key. I mean, you know, I know so much of the plan was around Tamari Key. Take me through two parts, right? One, how you go about navigating that type of switch in season, and moreover and more excitedly, like how's she looking? How healthy is she? Like, how much are we going to get to see her this year? Because she's such a presence.
Well, it was a big blow to our team. That's an understatement. And I think the hardest thing that our team found on the defensive end, our mistakes were enhanced.
Mm-hmm.
Tamari was a mistake eraser. People got in the paint, they got around you, no big deal. You had Tamari behind you. Or sometimes people wouldn't even go to the paint when you have Tamari out there. They literally would change their game plan. So we then were very exposed defensively. And then we have to be better when you weren't planning on being better. I don't mean you weren't planning on being better, but she just was there to erase the mistakes. And then all of a sudden we weren't. And so that was an adjustment. It took us a while to get that back and to try to make some tweaks here and there because she was such a huge presence and obviously offensively as well. But we were able to check that box a lot quicker than we checked the defensive box without Tamari. I think right now we're trying to be really patient with her, and she's trying to be patient with herself. You're playing at this elite level. I mean, one of the best centers in college basketball across the board. You're playing at such an elite level, and then all of a sudden it is shut down completely for months. And then now you've got the ramp back up. It's not easy. This has not been easy. And I think for us to have expectations that she's going to magically push a button, come back and be that same person right away, I think that's unfair. Mm-hmm. It's unfair to her and the process that she's had to go through. But we have seen her on the court. We have had her back out on the court. We're still trying to figure out when and where those minutes are going to maybe be more
most productive.
Yeah. And when and where is that safe? Because obviously we don't want to put her out there before she's ready with, and put her in a situation where she's prone to injury. So, I think it's just a process, and we're really taking it about week by week. We come in with a plan for the week and where we're going to get her reps in practice, how many of those reps are going to be full court, and how many of those reps are going to be half court. When are we going to get some individual work in for her? So she's on the court. I will tell you, one of the first days back on the court in practice, one of our guys who is a new practice guy, he didn't know. He drove in. The next thing you know, she swatted the ball, went to the wall, and it was like, oh yes, that. So we definitely miss her presence for sure. And the number one thing is she's healthy, and we're so grateful for that. And then obviously we want her to be able to reach her dreams of getting back on the court, and we're going to help her every way possible.
It's so exciting to see. I mean, and again, to your point, the rim protection, you hear the word rim protector thrown around a lot, the phrase rim protector. She was top 10 nationally in block percentage, in double digits in block percentage as a freshman, as a sophomore, and as a junior. So seeing her back out there, something that I know you guys are excited about. I know WNBA teams are excited about as well. Well, so we're going to talk a little bit about the overall way that the team is put together and overall expectations that you have and how that plays a part as well. Want to talk first about the folks at Game Time. And over at Game Time, they do a remarkable job of making it as easy as possible to get last minute tickets. If you want to go see Tennessee, and you want to go see Tennessee, let's be clear about that, you can go see seats on Game Time. And it's not just a question of what section you're in. You can see the view from your seat. Make sure that you are in a place where you are best positioned to sing Rocky Top, right? Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind. There's the all-in price. You see your total up front, no hidden fees, and you can buy the tickets in seconds with just a couple of taps. I can tell you, as a family that is sports obsessed and theater obsessed. We do all sorts of buying through Dame Time. You can take the guesswork out. And guess what? Now you can even get an extra $20 off. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA after you download the Dame Time app. $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Dame Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So overall, and this kind of dovetails a little bit with Tamari, right? You guys were a top 50 offense in terms of efficiency. Whether in all that, you're at 115 last year. Again, trying to navigate the loss and reach the Sweet 16 is significant. But I wonder whether you view those numbers as the types of things that you're trying to reach as goals, or do you have different metrics in mind for how this team gets to where it can be its maximum?
Yeah, I think for this team, I feel as though we could be, our strength could be on the offensive end with multiple scorers. You know, we talked about Rickea, Jewel, Tamari, but also, and Destinee, but also Sarah Puckett, Caroline Striplin, Jasmine Powell. We haven't even mentioned Jillian Hollingshed, and she's going to be a huge go-to piece for us this year. So I think our strength is going to be that. Where we have to improve, in my opinion, is on the defensive end. We've put a premium on that this preseason. We feel like our pace, if we could get our pace up a little bit more, that will help us on both ends of the court. My biggest concern is the rebounding numbers, to be quite honest. Last year we lost about 15 boards by graduating Jordan Horston and Jordan Walker. And those are both coming from the perimeter. So we don't have anybody that's going to give us 15 more rebounds just by stepping out on the court. It's not going to happen. And so just tracking that a little bit is going to be a huge number for us, because I just don't, right now we're not there. And we've got to get better. So I think there are some efficiency numbers. I think we need to be an efficient team. I think our efficiency numbers on both ends of the court really have to be high for us to be successful. And I think right now we're still trying to figure out what exactly that will be, who that will be. We feel pretty good. It's a pretty veteran team. They've picked things up, so we feel pretty good about where we're going. But we still got these last couple of weeks will be big for us.
And it's very important, listeners, to note that Kellie Harper teams rebound. And whatever the concerns are, 4 years at Tennessee, 4 top 10 finishes in rebound rate across the country. So that is usually the given. I'll
be honest with you. That's been the given for me as a coach at every stop I've been. It's been a priority. So usually when I have concerns, it's like concerns of being number 1 or number 2, you know. But right now, I do think I've got some valid concerns. So we've got to really up that.
It will be fascinating to see for sure. And then I guess the last part that I want to tackle is just the way you have reshaped how you put your team together. This is a veteran team. This is a team where you're relying on some transfers, but a lot of continuity. And I guess I wonder from your perspective, as you've thought about it, because it's a sea change in the way teams are put together, even in just the past 4 or 5 years. Has your thinking changed about what that looks like?
Yes, to be quite honest with you. And I think obviously people talk about the transfer portal and freshmen and weighing the two. And I think you have to have a healthy balance. I really do believe you need solid kids coming in their freshman year that are going to be your established. You're working around those spots, to be quite honest with you. When you get to the transfer portal time, you're working around the spots that you already have and you already have filled by 4-year kids. What I think has been, we talk about it, but I think it's been lost a little bit because the transfer portal is such a big deal. The COVID years. So for 4 years, basically, when you diagram a depth chart, you've got your seniors, your juniors, your sophomores, your freshmen. But for 4 years here, we've had 5 layers of depth chart, which has really, you can't have the same classes with 5 years that you do with 4. I mean, you just don't.
So
you've had to change and work now with a 5-layer system. And that's where, when you know that, then maybe your classes are going to be a little bit smaller. And then you're going to fill in the gaps with your transfers. So I'll be honest with you, it'll be nice, in my opinion, to go back to this 4-year. We're almost there. We get and I have enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I have enjoyed having Rickea Jackson for a 5th year. I'm not going to lie, not a problem. It's been great. But in terms of roster management, going back to a normal 4-year will be a nice change.
No doubt.
Yeah,
No
for
doubt.
sure.
It's better for people making mock drafts like me as well, just to be able to know how it works.
And the uncertainty.
That's
the
right.
uncertainty right now in college athletics with, at the end of the year, it's, so many people are sitting back waiting to see what their team's going to be, or the next team, or who that's going to be. You don't even know what your needs are until your season is over. And that's been the case for so many teams here recently. So it's just fluid. And I think, in the age that we're in, I think it's important that we are constantly having conversations with our team, honest conversations. They need that. They want that. And I think that is what helps you understand who you have, helps you build those relationships. We have great relationships with our players. I mean, we absolutely do. They have been phenomenal. We love coaching them. They come in the office. I mean, it's just a really good dynamic. But you've got to have that. You've got to have the understanding of who you are, who they are, what the relationship is, to be able to continue to move forward.
And you have to do it early. I'd be remiss not to take you to task for this obvious cupcake of a non-conference schedule. You guys are playing real easy opponents like the U.S. national team, Tania Latson in Florida State, Indiana, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I mean, my goodness.
That's what we do. That's what we do at Tennessee. That's how I learned when I was here. Again, one of those things historically, you can go back and look at the schedules that we have put together everywhere I've been. And, I may not have the best record because of it, but our teams get better. Our teams.
Is there a game, when you look at that team, or at that gauntlet, is there a game where you feel like this is the one where I think I'm going to learn the most about my team in the non-conference?
I would assume it's going to be our I'm going to try to throw out that USA game because I don't know. I'm not sure exactly where we'll go, what we'll learn with that one.
Sure.
But I'm excited about our first home game and then going on the road to Florida State right off the bat. So I think that because it's going to be so early, I think that will really tell us a lot about where we are and then what are the next steps. What's the path for our future?
Wow. You'll not be surprised to know that Brooke Wyckoff, who has also been on the program, named that game as well as a big one. I cannot wait to see that. Well, Kellie Harper, it is delightful to talk basketball with you. Always, I really appreciate your time. To our listeners, thank you for making us your first listen every day. We will, of course, be with you. In fact, later today, we've got multiple folks on the ground at the WNBA Finals telling you all about Aces Liberty heading into Game 4, and we will continue ramping up for college basketball as well. So until then, I am Howard Megdal wishing all of you a wonderful Tuesday.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.